Welcome to the business of being healthy, where we are passionate about treating our health as good as we treat our wealth. Sheley Bryan here, and I am obsessed with sharing real life experiences and wisdom to help save you time, heartache, and money as you continue to grow personally and professionally. Twice a week, we push aside that BS to take massive intentional action. And I promise by tuning in, you will receive the straightforward talk you've been waiting for, filled with actionable steps that will inspire you to achieve the health and wealth you desire while you are building your empire. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Business of Being Healthy. My name is Sheley Bryan. I am your host today, and I am just thrilled to have on somebody that I've actually looked up to. I don't think she knew this till we ran into each other at an event earlier this year or late last year in 2022, that I had actually been following her fitness journey when she was competing. But I am excited to welcome Ashley Wiens to our podcast today. And she is an online nutrition and fitness coach and personal trainer who specializes in neuromuscular reeducation to help clients build lean muscle, lose body fat, and get out of pain through corrective exercise. Now, Ashley has over 6 years experience with working as a health and fitness coach, and she's helped thousands of clients. She's a former D1 college basketball athlete, an IFBB figure pro, a cover model, and we already love her because she has dogs. So we know that she's a good person because she's a dog person. Sorry, cat people out there. I don't get it. I don't get it. So Ashley, welcome to the show. Excited to have you on. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much for having me on. Really excited to be part of today's podcast. So a little bit about me. I got started in fitness as a young athlete. I did volleyball, basketball, track growing up, ended up pursuing basketball in college, ended up having a knee injury that ended my basketball career my junior year. And then I'm a firm believer in things happening for a reason, because that knee injury led me down the path of coaching Division I basketball, which got me into competing in bodybuilding, which then brought me to Arizona, and I met my husband here. And all the things that I'm doing now as a health and fitness coach were because of the trajectory of that injury leading me into different avenues in fitness. So I'm a firm believer that things happen for a reason. Even my journey throughout competing, everything happened how it was supposed to, so I can best help the clients that I'm working with now.
Isn't it funny how sometimes when we're experiencing things, as they're happening, we're like, what the heck is going on here? But then once you get through it, you're like, oh, that's why I was put on this path. I got it,
100%. I feel like the extremes and the craziness that I went through throughout my competing journey, even like my injuries in basketball, they molded me and they helped me go through the hardships that I needed to go through so that I can best be the coach for the people that I work with now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, let's talk a little bit about your competing. I mean, you've been competing, right? Like college basketball athlete, and then now you turned your competition over to fitness competition for a little bit, and then now onto your business. So tell us a little bit about, I just really love to share with our listeners about your fitness competition journey, kind of how it started, and then how you decided to finish it off.
Yeah, I would love to share that. So I actually got interested in competing because of my knee injury. I was told by my team physician that I couldn't do anything high impact as far as cardio went, and I could do body weight exercises for the next 8 months. Knowing what I know now, I know that I could have done things differently, but that's what he told me. And so I was like, okay, I need to focus on something that I can do that is low impact. So I did do basically walking and low impact forms of cardio, like the bike. And I just really honed in on eating well because I knew nutrition was going to be the number one thing that would save my body from gaining a bunch of weight. Because I was a college athlete, used to working out 3 hours a day. And then I got very interested in, at the time, I don't know why this happened. I mean, I think it was just inevitable that was supposed to happen, but everything I was seeing on social media was competitions and people doing bodybuilding. I was like, oh my gosh, I need the next thing to help me be competitive, because I've always had something to strive for, to work towards. So I decided I'm going to do a bikini competition. So when I was cleared by my physician, I set out that I got my very first gym membership. I walked into 24-hour fitness in Fort Collins, Colorado, and I was like, I am going to do a show. And so from that point on, I was like the student of bodybuilding. I looked up everything online that I needed to know to get my body to look like a bikini competitor. I used my degree. So I was a dietetics major. And I used my knowledge of dieting to lose the weight. And I was like, hey, everyone else is doing a 12-week prep. I can do a 12-week prep. So basically, from the day that I decided to do a competition, I built this 12-week program for myself. So nothing crazy. I mean, I think I started out about 2,000 calories and slowly tapered my food down to about 1,500 calories. Did only about 3 25-minute cardio sessions a week. And those were like leisurely cardio, like walking, Stairmaster, just like very low intensity. And I weight trained 4, 5, 6 times a week, depending on, I think it was more 4 times. And then at the beginning, and then towards the end, I was like, oh, I need to be doing this more because I need to build more muscle. The more is better. Yeah. So I picked a show date, went to some local like posing seminars, and I was like, I'm going to do a bodybuilding show. And for me, it totally started off as like the thing that I needed to do to be competitive again and do something to kind of give myself a goal to work towards to get in the best physical shape. I thought it was going to be a one and doneer. I thought I would do one show and that would be it. And I'd reach my goal and I'd move on to the next thing. But throughout the first show journey, I did my first show and I ended up placing like second in my open class and first in my novice class. And I just was like hooked. Like it was like, this is the next thing. I'm going to do the next one. I want to win an overall show. And then maybe I'll do nationals from there. So what I thought, because I was super new in the sport, that I'm like, okay, all the people that are winning have coaches. So I need to hire a coach. So I hired a local coach that was really well known in the Fort Collins area. And he immediately put me on a meal plan that was like 1,200 calories. And I did 2 hours of cardio a day. Like it was like, I feel like 0 to 100.
It wasn't 0. It didn't feel like that. It was 0 to 100.
I was like, man, 2 hours of cardio a day. How am I going to do that? But I ended up working it out. And I went into the next show and I ended up winning the overall. And then I was like, okay, what's next? So, sorry, I lost one of my earbuds. So I went into the next show and which is actually, I gave myself about a 6-month prep. So this is my first experience of actually prepping for a show and then trying to reverse out of the show. I had never reversed. I had never done extremes. So my coach was like, well, we need to bulk. We need to gain all this weight so we can put on some muscle so that when we go to nationals, you have more muscle and you're going to be competitive because the girls there have more muscle. So I bulked. He gave me this meal plan that was like 3 times the amount of food I was eating. It was more food than I was even eating before I competed. I went from doing 2 hours of cardio a day to 20 minutes and leisurely cardio. And then the purpose of my weight training shifted to strength. So we're going to try to build as much muscle as possible. So through that process, I think I had like a 6-month off season. I gained about 30 pounds from my stage weight, which was probably around similar weight that I gained that I was at before prepping. But I went from being like the fittest I'd ever been to feeling like, oh my gosh, people are going to think I just ate whatever. Cause like, I definitely don't feel fit. Then I did my next show and it was my first national show, which was a huge learning curve because I walked in and I'm competing against the best of the best in the whole US. And I got 15th or 16th place. I forget what it was at that time, which basically everybody who got 15th or 16th place was last place. I was in third call out. So I think it was legitimate, probably like 15th or 16th. And then everybody after me was tied with that same number. I got smoked. I went from winning an overall to like everything with my presentation could have been wrong. Like my posing was terrible. My hair was bad. My makeup was bad. My suit was bad. Just was like a huge learning experience. But going into the next prep, we still did the extremes, right? So it was still 2 hours of cardio And then my food
Jeez.
slowly tapered down. So it didn't start at 1,200 calories, but it started around like 18 and slowly tapered down over the course of like a 4-month prep. Then my feedback was, okay, you are not lean enough and your stage presence needs to be better. So we went from that show to 2 months later doing another show. And it was 2 hours of cardio, 1,200 calorie diet, all the way up to that next show. So for 2 months, I was doing the extremes. I'd actually quit working so this is kind of a crazy story, but the coaching team, I was coaching for Colorado State at the time. They were doing a foreign exchange tour. So we had a lot of athletes that were based in Europe, and they were doing a tour, and that tour happened to interfere with the show that I was planning on doing for my second national show. So I quit my job because competing to me was so important. I wanted to become an IFBB pro so bad. I quit my job coaching, and I got hired at a vitamin shop, and I worked at a vitamin shop until because the goal of me winning my IFBB pro card was so important to me at the time that's all I wanted.
Isn't it funny though, Ashley, how we can when it comes to our health and physical look, we can get to such extremes, right? And I hope the listeners right now are catching this. She's giving you her journey to becoming an IFBB pro, but it's the 1,800 calories down to 1,200 calories. It's the 2 hours of cardio. Have any of you listening right now, ever had that same mindset of extremes, right? I have to do this to get this. And that is the only way. Sorry to interrupt you. No, you're seeing a trend here, and I wanted everyone to make sure they're catching it.
It's totally a great point, because I don't think we realize sometimes when we want something so bad that we overlook the overall healthy aspect of what we got into the sport to do. I was I got into this to get in the best shape of my life. I'd already achieved that goal. And then my next goal was to become a pro. And to become a pro, I was doing these crazy things I would have never done before, never done. So when I worked at the vitamin shop, it was a retail job. I was on my feet for 10 hours a day. So first thing I did in the morning, I woke up at 4 a.m., did my hour of fasted cardio, worked out, did my hour of fasted cardio, drove home, ate breakfast, drove right back to the gym, worked out, did my second hour cardio. Then I went and did my 10 hours on my feet of my retail job. So I was doing about 27,000 steps a day at this point.
Oh my gosh.
Every day.
Oh my
and
gosh.
Then, and the craziness, I did this podcast with Jeremy Scott a while back, and I was telling him I had the one meal I looked forward to on this prep was I had a Granny Smith apple, 15 almonds, and 2 caramel rice cakes. It was a snack. Okay. And I didn't have a measurement for the apple. So I would find the biggest apple.
Yep.
I would go to 5 stores because I wanted the biggest apple. And Sprouts sometimes have these little tiny Granny Smith apples. And I was no. I get 1 apple a day. I'm going to have the biggest apple.
Yeah.
And so I would go find the biggest apple. And he's like, that is nuts, actually. And I'm like, I know, I was nuts at that point, but
you're so focused. You're so focused. And you have that competitive background from college that I'm sure started when you were young. And then you just took that competitive nature over to, your fitness competitive nature. And it's only you at that point. You don't have your basketball team. It is you.
Yeah. And everything's on you at that point. So it's for me, I knew there's no way I was deviating from my plan. I followed everything to the T. So I was consistent with how I did every single thing, everything, my whole entire day. I would go to 5 stores to find the right apple because I was eating that same size apple my whole prep. And same with other foods I ate. And then I went into that next show and I won my pro card. So I was this is what it takes to be successful in this sport. Then, unfortunately, after that show, I didn't have the same reverse experience. So I didn't hear anything from my coach. So I was I had no idea what to do. I'm okay, do I just jump back into my old reverse? What do I do? Didn't hear anything from him. And I ended up gaining, the 30 pounds plus 10 more this next time, right? So I gained 40 pounds up from over the course of 4 to 5 months, slowly tapering my food back up, still working out. But I'm I guess maybe at the pro level, I need to grow a little bit more. So I got to bulk again. No, you should have stayed the same.
Yeah.
I know things completely different now, but
that's what extremes do, right? It's we do these extremes. And then at the end, who has done listening, some 6-month plan. And then it's you're done and you don't have any guidance on what to do next. And it's like, okay, now we're back off. Then we're back on. Now we're back off.
Yeah.
And this is, I shared a similar experience after my first competition. I did not compete at anywhere near the level of Ashley. I want to be very clear in sharing that. I did compete, but not like Ashley. And I remember after my first prep, I gained 40 pounds because I was like, Coach, what do I do? Oh, go have fun. Okay, here we go. And 40 pounds. Yeah. And it took a year to get that off, but go ahead.
Yeah.
Keep going.
And we'll get into that. Cause like the trajectory of like the longevity, cause I competed for 6 years. So like, you know, over time things start to change. And so it was after this fourth show that I did that things really started to change for me. So I hired another coach and I was like, okay, I got to prep for my bikini pro debut because I turned pro in bikini, and I started the next prep. And there were some things that were a little off. Like I was working super early like I was before, but no matter how much sleep I got, no matter how much food I was eating, this is even before prep started, I woke up and I just felt like I was always tired. And so I was like, something's off. So I got my blood work done. No testosterone, no estrogen, no progesterone. My thyroid was in the tank. Like literally I was trying to like pull a car uphill, like trying to go about my day to day. And so I worked with the hormone clinic, got my levels back to regular. And then I was actually in the process of prepping for my pro debut. And the coach I was working with, still kind of like the old school bodybuilding type. We went from, you know, I did the 2 hours a day to this guy. I did 3 45-minute cardio sessions. So 2.5 hours of cardio a day is what I was doing. Or 2 hours and 15. Yeah. I can't do math right now, but
you're good.
And then I was on an 800 calorie diet this time around, and leading into that show, I just like, and that was towards the very end. So my whole prep wasn't like that, but I macro dieted this time. So it was a little bit easier because like I got to choose the foods I ate till the very end. But didn't matter. I mean, like, that's just not even enough to live. Like, it's not even enough to sleep. Like I need to eat more calories than that, just laying on my couch every day. And then on top of it, like the amount of physical stress I was putting in my body. The reason I looked so puffy is because my body was stressed to the max. And my mindset was always more is better, less food is better. Like I got to do the extremes to be the best. Like if I don't do these extremes, like I did the last 2 shows, there's no way I'm going to do well at the pro level, because this is what it took to turn pro. I did that show and I had hesitations going into it. Like, I'm not ready. I don't even look as good as I did at my first national show. No way am I going to be competitive going into a pro show. I got smoked. Like I shouldn't have even done the show. Hindsight, did blood work again. Things were off. So I decided I needed to take a whole different approach, a whole different perspective, take a year off, get my hormones regulated. At this point, I mean, it had been that whole year. I hadn't had a cycle the whole year. And I ended up working with a different coach, who was more macro based, had a more like overall like health perspective. But he thought, hey, your body type is not supposed to be bikini. Your body type is supposed to be figure based off of your bone structure. We need to switch divisions. And I was like, do you know who Miss Olympia is in figure? Like, I do not look anything like her. This is going to be nuts. Like, you're crazy. Yeah. But he's like, pose figure. And that's what we're going to change your training towards, because bikini, you're going to be 1,000 calorie diet, 2 hour cardio day girl. And long-term, that's not what your body wants to be. You're fighting your genetics. So I really appreciated that feedback. I was super scared because I was like, okay, I had never dreamed to look like that, but okay, let's game on. I want to be an IFBB pro and I want to be competitive. Let's do it. So at this time, you know, I'm running my business still, doing in-person training. I had switched, throughout because I loved bodybuilding so much. And my degree was in dietetics. I wanted to switch to fitness and nutrition to help people make lifestyle changes and to help them create a better physique in a sense. Like my goal was like lifestyle transformation at that point. Like I was like, I want to help people through nutrition and working out, change the way they look and feel good about their bodies. Right. And for me, that was like, okay, well, I can give people a meal plan. I can give people workouts and they're going to look good because this worked for me. You know, the sustainability mindset of me, like it was not there because I was an extremist. Why can't you do this? Why can't you follow this and be as regimented as me was my mindset with people when I first started coaching. Well, it's easy for me. That's my goal. Now I'm in a whole different state. And it's just like, well, yeah, it shouldn't be so extreme. It should be fun. It should be able to be like balanced. But, throughout the next few years, that whole perspective changed. So this was around 2016. I switched from bikini to figure, was going through a terrible breakup at the time. And I was like, you know what? My coach lives in Arizona. Let's just up and move to Arizona because I want to be the best. I need to be around my coach. I need to be training around athletes that are like me, in a state that's like me, in a gym where people are going to be successful in this sport. Right?
I want to pause you right there because that is a super important point and we hear this in business all the time, right? And it's in the health, it's in everything, is that who you surround yourself with is either going to support you and lift you up, or they are going to pull you down. And so like making that decision to make the move, and the reason, I hope you guys heard that, I would even like reverse back or rewind back to hear that, why she made the choice to move here. She knew the benefits that would come with it when she surrounded herself with those people. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I mean, it's totally true. Like who you surround yourself with, and you'll hear this later in the story too, but it's totally vital for your success. Like if you're around people who are bringing you down, you're never going to reach that high level because those people are bringing you down. And so I needed to be around like-minded people that had the similar goals, that were training for a similar purpose. Even if it was a different division, I wanted to be around the best of the best. So I moved to Arizona. And then I was running my own business in Colorado before, doing extremely well because I had left 24-hour fitness. I think I skipped over all that, but I moved. When I turned pro, I worked out of a 24-hour fitness as my first training job. I'm going to rewind a little bit. My first month, I did like 90 sessions. Second month, I did 120 sessions a month. In my third month, I did 160 sessions a month. And it was like, there was no going up from there. It was like I had reached what I could maximally make as a trainer at 24-hour fitness, unless I wanted a management role. So then I decided to leave 24-hour fitness and then do independent contracting. So then to run my own business, paying rent out of a different gym. Did that really successfully while I was prepping for those shows in Colorado. And then when I chose to leave, I was like, okay, sweet. I can build the same successful model somewhere in Arizona, transition all my in-person people that I had in Colorado to online, because online training was a kind of a whole new thing at this time.
For sure.
But I transitioned everyone to online and then moved to Arizona. And I was like, I'll just do my online business and work out here. And my goal of like what I'm going to do my day-to-day is going to be bodybuilding. And then I can make my money doing online. Great. That's the both worlds. Moved to Arizona. And then the gym that I was out of, they needed help because they had won 2 Miss Olympias that year. So I started working for the gym, started working for their online business as well as their in-person business, started running a group class there while I'm prepping for my figure pro debut, all of this, right? So I'm working about 55 sessions a week.
Incredible.
I think that's what it was, about 55 sessions a week at the time, prepping for figure pro debut. And I did that. I did, I think, like 3 shows that year. Did extremely well in figure. This was probably the most balanced approach I had with competing. I didn't do crazy extremes, macro dieted my whole prep, did a lot of HIIT cardio, which for my body now, knowing how my body responds to HIIT cardio is not the best just because it puts a lot of stress and wear and tear on my joints. But that's what I needed to do well in figure. So I looked extremely well. The guidance and being around the right people helped me, do very well in figure, especially just being a brand new figure pro. So if you're not aware of bodybuilding, you can transition or cross over as a pro to a different division. So I turned pro bikini, transitioned to figure, did my first ever figure show as a pro. And that was scary. But at the time, I was just slammed busy because the gym I was working for, they just went. The reason I started doing in person again, it was never to move here to do in person. It was they needed help with the class. I ran the class. People in the class liked me. People wanted to work with me one-on-one outside of the class. And then they needed help with online. So then I just got super, super busy in my day-to-day at that gym, working for somebody else. While my goal is to, be a top figure pro. So I took a back burner to what I wanted to do professionally in my career, which is growing my online platform, to work for this company because I felt like I was indebted and I owed it to my coach or my team for the gym that I was, an athlete for. Fast forward to how I met James, which I did my first Fitposium 2018. And through that conference, it was like, yeah, I want to do my own thing. Like, why am I working for somebody else? And at that gym, it was a 50-50% commission split. So the gym made 50%, I made 50%. There was no going up for how much I was working. I had maxed out with what I was able to do. Another scenario like 24-hour fitness. I left 24-hour fitness. I joined the mastermind group, and James had a mastermind group that year. I joined it to basically give myself permission to leave the gym, to go off and do independent and do my own thing.
So I want to point that out to the listeners again, that you made a choice to go surround yourself with people that were going to lift you up. And she keeps saying James, Ashley keeps saying James. That's a mutual contact that we both know, a great person, James Patrick. Yes. He is a phenomenal photographer and the best in his space by far. So I love that you joined this mastermind with James.
Yeah. And I mean, that's how we met. So it's like, like virtually, I mean, we met, but like through like following, and then we met in person through going to that conference. But so it was crazy. So when I joined the mastermind group, I knew already what I needed to do based off of my conversations with the business coaching with James. But I needed the permission from the group basically to tell me that it was okay to leave the gym and then to pursue what I wanted to do business-wise so that I could be successful. And at the same point, I did more shows in 2019. I did 3 more shows. And at that point, like I had done some crazy, long preps. And I at this, since 2015, I hadn't had a cycle. And it was 2019. And so I had been basically doing back-to-back shows with 2-3 month prep or, off seasons. It weren't really off seasons. It was just enough to kind of get my food back up to a little bit of maintenance calories so that I could dive back into the next prep. And I had didn't have a consistent cycle. I didn't even have a cycle for probably that whole entire time. And then 2019, I feel like I had reached my maximum potential as a figure athlete with what I was willing to do in the sport. And I had put on the most muscle I feel like I could put on my frame. I was the leanest that I could be, best posing that I could be. And I feel like, you know what? I wanted to be a top Olympian in figure, but maybe that's not what my calling is supposed to be, because I feel like this is taking me away from some of my other personal goals. So I decided to kind of hang up my heels. At the end of that last show, we actually had a pretty pivotal moment for me. We went to, it was a retreat in LA for the mastermind group. And it was during that time that I had met, actually Tiffany, who's
Tiffany Carter. She's amazing.
Tiffany Carter. Yeah. She's another amazing, businesswoman. Love her. But she had shared her story, and that super resonated with me. It was like, I am literally just experiencing the same thing that you went through. And why am I stressing out so much about what my physical external appearance looks like for what gratification? I don't even get to enjoy life living this crazy contest prep lifestyle. It's like you go travel, but you're traveling for a show and you don't even get to enjoy anything outside of the show.
It's not like you're going to enjoy the food or anything.
No, you're like the next day you're right back on an airplane going back to Arizona. And I'm like, okay, so why am I doing that? Yes, I get to be some type of an influencer, but who am I influencing? People who are doing the extremes? That is not me. That is not my calling. That is not what I want to do. I'm not being authentic to why I started my journey. And so I had to take a step back and be like, okay, who do you want to help? What's your ideal client? What is my message that I'm sharing right now? It's extremes and deprivation and this unbalanced lifestyle. And I'm like, that is not me. That's not what I want to preach. It's not what I want to portray. So I chose to basically take a step back and realize, okay, so I haven't had a cycle in 4 or 5 years. I need to go and get my hormones redone, check on all my levels. And I actually need to get my body fat up to a high enough percentage to where having a cycle is normal. Because I was so lean for so long that my body physically was not fit to reproduce, which is why the cycle stopped. And so I, over probably 6 months, gained 30 pounds again. So this crazy yo-yo, right? I had way more muscle on my frame, but I just honestly got to a point where when I was doing figure, I was 147 pounds on stage shredded. When I gained that weight, I was 177 pounds with muscle, but I had all this fat on top of it. So I just felt like an imposter in my body. Like, here I am, this coach, right? So this is like the mind shift change.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here I am, this fitness professional. I do not feel fit. I have all of this body fat on top of all this muscle. I do not look like a health and fitness coach. I feel like I am such a hypocrite to all of my weight loss clients. And here I am dealing with something that's extremely important in the overall like scheme of things is like internal health that was not matching up to what my external appearance looked like. And so
I was just going to jump in. Whoa. And I want to touch on that just really quick. And I want you to continue on. And I really hope the listeners I'm going to help kind of summarize a lot of these great, like little tidbits that you're sharing just of your journey. Right. And get to the point where you are now, because as we talked about before, Ashley, right? Like all of these experiences are happening for you to get you to understand where your calling is and where you can serve best. But, one of the points that you just shared is that mindset shift of you lost confidence, right? It sounds like when you gained weight. And that is something that we talk about, or I am so passionate about too, is health isn't only physical appearance. I know everyone thinks like, oh, it's only just losing weight. Health is not physical appearance, right? That the fact that your physical appearance can make you lose confidence, but the confidence is what we want to get back, regardless of how your body looks, right? And you want to feel good and feel empowered and feel like you can go do stuff. But because you were getting healthy by actually gaining weight, I want you guys to hear that. She was getting healthy by gaining weight. And we're going to dive into hormones and stress because you know my story on stress. And so I really want to dive into that. But it's that the fact that you had to gain weight to get healthy kind of teetered with your confidence a little bit.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And it's because like I've been in this industry for so long that was based off of how lean you could be and how muscular you could be. And that external appearance is what you're judged on. And that's what basically provides you self-worth in that industry, right? And so like even when you're the leanest, you still aren't satisfied with your body because you're comparing yourself against someone who's leaner than you. And so when I'm gaining weight for physical health purposes, I'm like, this is COVID, it's perfect, gyms are shut down, best time to gain weight, and people are here like I stopped posting anything on social media for a long time because I was like, I don't want people to just think like I'm eating whatever to gain weight. I was eating healthy foods. But the purpose of that weight gain was to get my hormones in check. And then over, the course of once I had gained weight to actually get a cycle back, I got my cycle back. And then my goal was, okay, I got to keep this for a few months. Then I'm going to slowly put myself in a deficit. I had stopped working out as much because I needed to stop exercising so much and doing so much cardio so that I could maintain my cycle because I was overdoing things. So then I slowly started to add in a little bit of exercise, a little bit of cardio, tapered my calories down so that I could slowly lose 1 to 2 pounds a month.
Wow.
And it took me about 2 years to take the weight off, but now I'm in like a body that I've always dreamed of living in and doing it in a way that's not crazy extreme. I do workouts 3-4 times a week and I do cardio 20 minutes, 3 to 4 times a week. But
another 20-minute. Do you guys see that? Like you see me on social, like I'm like 20 minutes done. Like,
and sometimes it's a 10-minute walk with my dog. It's not even on actual cardio equipment. Sometimes I go on two 10-minute walks after meals. It is something that I like doing, not something I force myself to do.
God, I love that.
I think cardio, fitness in general should be a form of enjoyment, right? A form of stress relief. And sometimes, we're not going to be motivated to go to the gym, but we always feel better when we do. But now fitness is something that I use as like my mental therapy. I go to a gym and I lift in a way that makes me feel good, not based off of how I think I need to look for a certain division that I'm trying to fit into. I'm not fitting into somebody else's box anymore. I'm fitting into what is authentically me. What's the body I want to live in? How do I want to feel? And how do I want to be able to best serve the people I work with? And if it doesn't reach all those goals, then it's not for me anymore.
I love that. Let's just pause for a minute and everybody rewind, go listen to that little bit that Ashley just shared, because that is the ultimate goal. That is where we need to be. And I know that you and I are so passionate about no extremes, right? Like it's not the extremes. It is about the lifestyle. And I want you to share a little bit more about your business now, right? Yes. And how you coach your clients, because you also have a really very cool and innovative tool that you use called NewFit. So share us a little bit about your business and then tell us about NewFit.
So during COVID, I actually was like stressed like most trainers, like the gyms are shut down. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
I got introduced through part of my fitness journey. I had an injury that basically my left quad was atrophied. I couldn't activate the lateral left side of my quad. And so I found this device called the Newbie from a company called NewFit, and I used it to stimulate muscle activation on my lateral left quad. Boom. One session, I was able to activate muscles that had been not able to work from an injury that I had had.
Wow.
Then my quad started to look the same, symmetrical, perfect. It's just what I needed for the division I was competing in. So that was my first introduction to NewFit. During COVID, I was like, how am I going to pivot to be able to train my in-person clients without any equipment? Because there's no equipment available. I bought a Newbie and I became a certified NewFit practitioner with recovery and a level 1 practitioner to train people with.
Wow.
And I pivoted my whole business to being a NewFit practitioner. And I would say 90% of my current clientele use the Newbie right now because it helps them it's a neuromuscular reeducation device that puts direct current into the body. It's different than a TENS unit because TENS units are alternating current, which means the current goes back and forth between pads. This one has an input and an output, so there's constant flow. And the reason why it's beneficial to have a direct current device is you can control the frequency you're putting into the body to either lengthen muscles that are too tight or shorten muscles that are too long.
Wow.
So
okay.
It speeds up corrective exercise by helping with better postural alignment. If like your chest is tight, you can put a frequency in that's going to lengthen it while you train.
Wow.
And then if you're trying to build muscle at a more rapid rate, you can put pads on the muscles you're training and get even more muscle stimulation with using the device while training than you could on your own. And then I also do a master reset, which gets people's central nervous system into a state of parasympathy, which is more rest and digest, versus sympathy, which is the fight or flight state, which most of us are in a very stressed state. So a lot of my clients will come in, first 10 minutes of a session, we'll do a master reset, get their body into a less stressed state. Then we'll go through training. Their body responds better because we drop the cortisol at the beginning. So it's totally pivoted my business. I did not at the time realize the investment that I was making in my business in 2020 that would take me to where I am at now. I've like tripled my income monthly. Like each month I've tripled my income from when I first got the device. It's just blows my mind. But the thing that's not even like, I didn't necessarily see it being such an income thing for me. It was, I'm able to help people who aren't able to activate muscles before. I'm able to help people who are in so much physical pain that they didn't even want to walk into a gym now. And then now they're training pain-free. So it's just life-changing. And so I feel like with what I do and the trajectory that my whole contest prep and that experience took me to was to bring me to Arizona to meet my husband. And then also become a NewFit practitioner and to help people through neuromuscular reeducation.
That's absolutely incredible. And it's like your injuries, while they were a setback, are a giant leap forward now because of the knowledge and experience that you gained navigating them.
Yes. Yes.
Now, I want to jump in a little bit, Ashley, about, because we've touched on the word stress a few times.
Yes.
And you just talking about the NewFit and how that works and reducing your cortisol, getting into the parasympathetic versus the sympathetic, like that is how important, let's dive there, because listeners, if you've been following me on social media or listening to the show, I lost my eyesight due to stress, 100% due to stress. So I am blind in my left eye. I am healthy for the quote of being healthy. But the more that I talk about it, the more that I realize, and I personally understand how important stress is in your overall health. But Ashley, I'd love for you to share just your experience with stress and how you're navigating it now when you're not only working with clients, but running a business. So like you had the pressure of competing, and now you have the pressure of performing for your employees and for your clients.
Yeah. So great point. We're all stressed, no matter what type of business we run, what we do day to day. Just like the nature of life is like we're trying to cram in all these things in, the amount of time that we have in a day. Mm-hmm. And for me personally, how I manage stress is I try to start my day in a way that's going to start me off in a relaxed state. So I read, I do devotionals, I do like journaling in a sense of, sometimes it's like sitting down physically writing. Sometimes it's like writing what I think about of what I've read or what podcasts I've listened to in the morning. But I start my day in a way that helps, like, it's not scrolling through social media. It's not automatically jumping into work. It's doing something that I know that I want, that feels like benefits my mental space. Mm-hmm. So for me, that sometimes is sitting and stretching for the first 10 minutes of the day, or just sitting down and enjoying my cup of coffee in silence, or taking my pups on a walk. But I feel like setting that tone for the day in a relaxing way gives me the capacity to, I already know I'm walking into 10 to 12 sessions a day, every day. I have a busy schedule. I'm on time, on the hour, every hour. Mm-hmm. So in order for me to operate the best to help people and not create a stressful environment for the clients I work with, I need to operate in a way that is structured, routine, consistent. What allows me to do that is meal prepping, setting up scheduled times for myself to work out. And then also I recently hired some people to help take over the increase in workload, because I can't be here 15 hours a day. So I've hired another NewFit practitioner who's going to take over evening sessions, who's getting certified right now. And then also another trainer who's going to take on my evening sessions of clients who don't use the NewFit. And so it's finding ways to pivot when you're stressed so that you can have the quality of life that you want. That's the number one thing. And if something's not serving you anymore, then maybe you need to find a way to pivot to where you feel like you're your best version of yourself, and something that's creating stress in your life doesn't always have to be there.
That's absolutely phenomenal. And it's like, I heard outsourcing, right? I love comparing mm-hmm. like business skills to our health skills, right? They're just such like a collaboration of skill and correlation if we can leverage them appropriately. That you needed to, outsource to bring on more for your business to help reduce your stress. Yeah. Your morning routine. I'm a big advocate, and I know there's like so much out there that says like, oh, don't have a morning routine, have the morning routine, be restrictive, don't do this. I am a huge believer in a morning routine, and it doesn't have to be like rigid, like this minute to this minute to this minute, but there are things that you do that set you in such a good, positive, empowered mental state to start your day. If you start your day full of defeat with comparison on social media, or without breakfast, or, hitting snooze 5 times and then racing with the kids out of the house, how is that setting you up to be in a high performance setting for the rest of your day? So the morning routine and the way that you are doing it, and I love that you said, that's how I show up best for my clients.
Yeah. I mean, in like outsourcing, like I loved meal prepping in the past, right? But now I just don't have time. So I hire a company that preps my food for me.
Great.
So there's similar things like that. There's conveniences that I can do that makes my life simpler. Sometimes I if it's a little bit more expensive than prepping food on my own would be, it's worth every penny because it buys back my time.
Did we all hear that, right? From a business perspective, we don't have to be the ones that do it all. Yeah. Being able to bring on team, and whether it's like an employee, a contractor, or just a company, right, to come and do that. I talk about this all the time, because even like outsourcing things at home, like laundry, house cleaning, the meal prepping, like you mentioned, grocery shopping, Instacart, like these things will help free up time so that you can focus on yourself. So often we just pile it up on ourselves, and we don't have to, but it's one, seeing the correlation between the two and releasing the control, right? We don't have to control everything. or try to
Yes.
control.
So true. And I am like the person who used to be the utmost control freak. And I'm like, if I'm not doing it, if it's not done this way, and it's not good enough. And once I've released that, it's like, okay, it may not be done the way that I wanted it done, but as it gets done, is it still like it's done well, but it's probably I would have done things differently. And that's okay too. Like I had to release some control of things because they're still done appropriately. It's just probably a different way than I would have done it, which is fine.
Done is done, right? At the end of the day, it's like, okay, it's done.
Yes.
You took longer than me, but whatever, it's done. Like, and I think that just leaves you so empowered to be like, okay, we're good. We're good.
Yes.
Now switching gears real quick, because I do want to touch on this. And those of you that are still hanging with us through this episode, I love it because we're going to talk about a couple more things. And then actually, Ashley has something free for everybody that we'll put in the show notes. But before I get there, I just wanted to touch on hormones because you brought up hormones a few times. Yeah. And this was obviously during your prep, but then when you finished your prep, I work with a naturopathic doctor. My hormones are, regulated often, monitored often, and changes are made accordingly. But so many people think like, oh, I can just, my PCP will just run a quick hormone panel and I'm good. Everything's good. Right. Mm-hmm. Talk about hormones and really how your hormones have helped you perform better for your business.
Yeah. So I used to wake up in the morning and literally feel like I would sleep 8 to 10 hours and I didn't feel like I got any sleep. Just because my hormone levels were off, right? And I was over exercising, under eating, and for too long of periods of times. So I went into it as something's wrong. I need to do blood work to figure out why my body's not operating the way it's supposed to. Like it's like putting the wrong fuel in your car. If there's something that's not operating the way it's supposed to, we should know what that is so that we can optimize, or we can run as efficiently as possible. If you're not 100%. Losing weight, maybe do a blood panel and work with a hormone specialist, someone who works with hormones specifically, so that you can figure out, okay, the reason I'm not losing weight is because this, and this is off. It's not because I'm not dieting and not because I'm not doing cardio or working out. There's so many reasons, or it could be you're too stressed. I mean, I always try to approach weight loss or life in general as like something feels off, get it checked. You're only benefiting yourself because no one wants to live every day pulling a truck uphill.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And, you shared how it felt when you knew something was off and you went and got your hormones checked. How did you, once it got regulated, how extreme of a difference did you notice in your overall energy?
I was like the Energizer Bunny. I was like, oh my gosh, I can do so much more in the day. I'm more efficient. I'm more productive. It's like, okay, what can I do more of? And like, if the life that I live now, and actually, luckily, except for my thyroid medication, I'm off all TRT, all the oral supplementation. And it was a lifestyle change that I needed to make. I needed to stop prepping. I needed to stop doing tons of cardio and stop doing the over dieting. And then my life, everything balanced out. Minus thyroid, but I think that's genetic too. And then it could be from some damage from competing. But everything seems to be functioning just like it should. And that's how most of us should feel on a daily. We shouldn't feel like, I slept. Why do I feel tired in the morning? And that can be as simple as you're not eating the right nutrients. You're having nutrient deficiencies, or there could be issues with your hormones.
And that's what I love how you just summed it up right there, is that it's not just one or the other. Like there are multiple things that we need to look at. And by me talking and bringing up hormones, I definitely urge our listeners, if you've been struggling with weight loss or healthy, it's not just like, oh, my hormones are it. That is it. I'm going to take these pills and here we go. That is not it. It is a combination of everything that you're doing, from mindset to nutrition, exercise, hormones, all of it. So I just wanted to bring that up because that's a topic that I think does get overlooked, and maybe we don't think about it right away, and when we're living in that constant diet, restrictive lifestyle, high stress at work, high stress with family, there are some major overhauls that need to happen.
True.
Now, what would you say for our listeners as we close up here? What are 1 to 2 takeaways that you would like to leave them with for someone that's really resonating with the ups and downs, and they want to get started?
So my number one takeaways would be find an approach that's sustainable and creates the quality of life that you want. If doing 2 hours of cardio a day is something you can't maintain, you shouldn't be doing it. If doing a 1,200 calorie diet or keto or low carb or, high, like if that's not sustainable for you long term, that shouldn't be the approach that you follow long term. So fitness needs to be a part of your lifestyle, not your lifestyle, if that makes sense. It needs to be a part of your everyday. If it doesn't fit into your family life, your work life, what you do, for the majority of what makes you feel and function your best, then you need to find an approach that's going to fit into that versus like when I was competing was my life. Then you'll have sustainability.
I love that. I love that. Such a great takeaway. Now, just so all of our listeners know, Ashley, what's the best way for people to follow you? Is it Instagram?
Instagram, yeah, FitFabAsh on Instagram. And then I'm really only active on Instagram, but I have a Facebook and I have a TikTok, but like I'm working on those, you guys. So
we all are.
I'm working on creating time for that.
We all are. I get it. No, I get it 100%. I think everyone can resonate with that. Now, I will also link everything in the show notes so that you can absolutely follow along with Ashley. And she has been so gracious to offer a free macro ebook to all of our listeners that I will link in the show notes so that you guys can absolutely download that. And then if you have questions, make sure that you reach out to Ashley on Instagram and connect with her. And I'm just so thrilled that we were able to do this today. So thank you so much for bringing your story and sharing it so authentically so that you can see the journey that you're on and where we see you going.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and it's been a blast.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you all for joining us today, and make sure that you're tuning in twice a week for more of the Business of Being Healthy podcast.